Hey guys, with the bad news of my cracked block on the engine, it's time to shift gears on the project. I've ordered in some bits and pieces for the front suspension. They haven't arrived yet, but I think we've got a little bit of cleaning we got to do before we start reassembling anything. Let's get this front end cleaned up so we can put our shiny new parts on it. Thanks for watching. I've given the work area here, first pass, tidy up, make it a little bit more functional. And I've also kind of done the same thing here. Come up with a bit of a plan of attack. I don't know whether I'm going to reuse this bumper or not. It's kind of, as you can see, tweaked and not necessarily in the best of shape. Needs a little bit of welding for sure. They're not inexpensive, but they're not that outrageous to get a new replacement, so we might go that route. I don't know, we'll see. But really, there's only, looks like 4 bolts aside that hold it in place, so I think the first step is going to be taking those off. Then we've got the engine mount cross member, which is this piece here. It's held on with 4 bolts. And then there's kind of a splash pan here that also looks like it's bolted on. Probably come out fairly easily. And if we unbolt those 2 items, then plus the engine mount proper, I think we can fit all of that in the sandblast cabinet and clean them up really good and then get them repainted. The rad support cross member here is riveted in. I don't plan on taking that out. But if we get all of that stripped off, that'll give us a bit more access to everything. We're gonna have to get these springs dropped, get them cleaned up. I don't plan on taking the spring packs apart, but give them a quick pass over with a die grinder and scrub wheel and throw a bit of fresh paint on them. I don't know what to do about these overload springs. Maybe I'll ask online if anybody has any information about overload springs. I don't know if that's just something that somebody's stuck on there or whether that's an original. It kind of looks to me like the spring is just centered over top of the U-bolt there to keep it in place, and maybe this was the original bump stop holding the top. Hard to say. But I would like to get, back to here, get all of that cleaned up and get some paint on it. Let me put you guys on a stand and I'll break out maybe the impact and sockets, etc. And we'll see if we can get this this front bumper, cross member, and splash pan off. The splash pan came out, no problem. This engine cross member though is kind of odd. As you can see, we got a bolt in the front, we got a rivet in the back. So I could unbolt the front of that, but I'd have to grind off those rivets and probably could bolt it back in, but really we don't need to take that out. It can stay there. The next step I think is going to be to try and disconnect some shocks. I've squirted some PB onto the nuts. Hopefully either inner or outer or something will come apart there and cooperate on both sides. We'll get those dropped off. I don't think I'm quite ready to disconnect the steering and disconnect the springs just yet. But let's get these shocks disconnected and we'll see where we go from there. Got the shocks off, and they actually kind of almost work. Of course, we're going to put new ones on, but still, I think that's kind of neat that even after all those years sitting in a junkyard and all those years sitting in my collection, the shocks still work. Kind of cool. I think it's time we put some tools away, and then I'm going to charge up the compressor and get a die grinder out and start scuffing. But you don't need to watch me clean up, so I'll fire things up here and bring you back when I'm ready to hit this with some tools. Well guys, it is starting to shine up here. Lots of work left to do. I haven't really done anything with the bottom side yet. Definitely it's cleaning up good. We don't have to get too super carried away getting the rust off. I've probably taken it way further than is necessary. I'm going to be using a rust encapsulation paint on it, so it's not the end of the world. This is kind of a first pass. Get the worst of the scale off, and we can continue working at it. I think we've reached the point here with the cleaning up at the front where it's time to drop the front suspension off. So I think that'll be our next effort. But I've got a car club meeting to go to this evening, so I think it's time for me to shut it down here and go get cleaned up. We'll bring it back tomorrow morning and get some more grinding done here. Catch you in a bit. Hey guys, we're back on the 53. I got the first pass made on the frame, but we've got a few things that we kind of need to disconnect here and get out of the way so that we can keep going. That, and I got jack stands under there that I want to get under the frame so the front of the truck is being supported. Brake hoses, I'm just going to cut them. Absolutely would not reuse them. They're not cracked. They actually look like they're not in bad shape, but the insides will be rotted right out of them, so we'll get rid of them. The steering, I'm not exactly sure how this all comes apart here yet, but there's kind of a cover on here and try and get that apart so that the front suspension can come free. Then we've got our spring shackles. Don't want to put too much light on the subject. We got a couple of big nuts and shackle bolts that need to come out, both on the front and on the rear. That should give me a couple of hours of work to do this evening, and that's about all the time I have to work on it. Let me get this thing up on jack stands so we can start taking stuff apart. We're up on jack stands, and boy oh boy did I just get one load taken off my mind, pun intended. I was worried about these overload springs that are on here. And as you can see, they come out easily. That's good news. I am not sure what these are out of. Something tells me not a 53 Ford. But I was worried that those springs were going to be a death trap, a loaded hand grenade, if you will. That when I took the shackles off, we're going to go pop in an unsafe way, but the fact that they just dropped right out of there is really good news. I'm quite happy about that. Let's get that steering rod out of there. I have absolutely no idea what it's going to take to get it to disassemble, so first step, get some grease and grunge off of there, and then we'll see what we have to work with. Well, that certainly is some good news. I was worried that the steering box was going to be all jammed up, but that coasts quite nice. I can work with that. Now the wheels, on the other hand, as I suspected, the kingpins are all seized up. But that is fine. I can work with that. I do have kingpins on order as part of the stuff that I ordered in, so I was kind of expecting them to be the problem. Let me finish getting this drag link out of here and we'll get it kind of reassembled so that all the parts stay together. Then we can continue on to the springs. Here's our front shackle bolts. We got a couple of cotter pins to pull out and a couple of big nuts. I'm hoping that's all going to come apart fairly easy, but I'm not holding my breath. And I can see that we got a whole bunch more scale under here that we're going to have to get rid of before we start throwing paint at things. But that was kind of expected. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I can record and do this little job all at once. Now, guys, I think I'm going to need both hands to get this to go, so I'll have to put the camera down. So I'll bring you back when I got these nails out of here, and looks like nails on the other side as well. So I'll get these nails out and then we'll see how the rest of it's going to come apart. So what we've got here, this is the shackle. You can kind of see there's a bit of a boss here, and the bolt head has a flat on it. And it turns not too bad in the bushing, but she's a little on the snug side. So we'll give it some pressure. Hey, that came not too bad. I don't feel like doing that with a wrench. I think I'm going to grab the impact gun and try and buzz those off of there. I'll bring you guys back when I've made a little more progress. Got the nuts off of there. This side actually came really easy. The other side put up a little bit of a fight, but stern talking to. That worked. A stern talking to from the oxyacetylene torch, and the nut decided to cooperate. That's coming apart not too terrible, but I think I want to do the rest of it from the outside, just so that I don't end up with something dropping on my head while I'm under a truck. I don't feel like bench pressing the front end of a 53 Ford, even with no engine installed. I imagine it's got a little bit of gravity to it. I'll get the other side kind of sort of started in that direction too, and then I'll bring you guys back when I'm ready to pop them off from the top side. Well, let's see what happens here. That is one shackle free. Now we got to keep the shackle dogs, or dog bones, or whatever you want to call them. But I believe I've got new pins coming with the parts I ordered. Progress has been made. And again, this side put up a little bit of a fight, but I managed to get it out of there. Now all we've got left is the back, but I think that's going to have to wait till tomorrow evening. I got work in the morning and it is getting a little late. So good night, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow evening. Hey guys, we're back working on the 53 Ford. I think today we're going to get the rest of this front suspension removed. Really, I think all we've got left to do is the back spring bolts. Unfortunately, they are in an inconvenient spot. The transmission mount is forward of the spring perch, so those are going to have to be accessed from underneath. Not a whole lot of fun, especially where I've got the jack stands set up. Not any place that I'm going to be able to take you guys. I've made some more progress on getting the frame cleaned up, and it's still, you know, the light reflects off some of the shininess, but it looks like it's still all rusty to me. But That's all dust. I've spent some time going at this with a die grinder most of the way around, and I've done a fairly decent job of cleaning it up. We're not quite to the point where it's ready for paint yet, but definitely making some good progress in that direction. I'm hoping by the end of today, it's Saturday, I'm hoping by the end of today I'll have some paint sprayed around on this thing. Anyways, I'm not going to be able to bring you with me when I go under there to get those back to shackle bolts or spring bolts out of there. But let me get that done, and then we can start rolling this suspension out of the way, and then we can do a really good job cleaning things up. I'll bring you back once I got the springs loose. That was relatively painless. The bolts came out of there not too bad. The nuts came off. The cotter pin on this side and the whatever penny nail on the other side fought a little bit, but not too bad. The other thing I did was disconnect the muffler from what's left of the tailpipe. And something tells me I'm going to need two hands to pull that up, but that gets us our exhaust system loose, and it gets us our front suspension loose. We can get that out of there. I think we're just going to cut off the remainder of those brake lines and disconnect some of the stuff with the clutch and steering box. Try and basically get as much clearance as we can around things, and then I can get in here and clean things up. Let me put you on a stand. We'll move some stuff around here and continue cleaning. Get this side basically cleaned off mechanically. It still needs to have the oil removed, and then all of the rest of the rust and sand and mud and grease, etc. But definitely making progress. I'm going to do the same thing on this other frame rail, but of course one problem we're going to have is Mr. Steering Box. I think the pitman arm will come off, not too bad, but probably not going to remove the steering box at this time. Well, let me continue working on that. Basically, it's a repeat of what we just did, so I'm not going to bother recording it, but I'll bring you guys back when I've got things stripped down and ready to start cleaning the frame. Well guys, it has been a couple of hours since the last progress update, and there's definitely been some progress made. I don't know how well it's going to show up here because all my lights are dying. Frame rails are cleaning up nicely. I got a little bit more to do on the bottom side, primarily on these two cross members here. Got the pitman arm off, gave the steering gearbox kind of a first pass, just with a wire brush, kind of get the worst of the gunk off of it, and get in around the back side. Definitely need to wipe the frame down a couple more times with some paint thinner, get the any residual grease and whatnot off of it, but it is certainly coming together. Basically, well, we'll squirt some on the outside of those spring mounts, but from there forward, I'm hoping to get painted in the morning. There's a bit of a cloud of dust floating around in here, so if we put fresh paint down, it's going to get all full of rusty dust. Inside of the frame rail, I'm going to only go back as far as the tranny cross member for now, and I think the cab's probably going to be coming off, the transmission will be coming out, you know, more than likely. We can paint under that portion of the truck when we attack those parts of the project. But I am going to go at this bottom. I want to get it cleaned up to the point where I can basically say that it's ready for paint, and then we will be calling it a day. I don't think I'm going to bring you guys back for an update after that, but we'll come back in the morning and take a look at it before we spray some paint at it. Hey guys, we're back at the 53 Ford, and it looks like everything's rusted again till you wipe it off. That is what I was worried was going to get in our paint yesterday, with getting things basically ready to go, but not putting paint on till the dust settled down in here. I think it's time to give this thing a good wipe down. There's a little bit more grease on the back side of these bushings that I want to try and get out of there. And then I can start throwing some paint at this thing. Let me get the cleanup done, we'll get that grease out of there, and then I'll bring you guys back and we'll put a little bit of color on this thing. Well, I think we're ready to go. I've given the frame a good wipe down with acetone. This is not going to be a professional paint job. I'm rattle canning it with some Tremclad by Rust-Oleum. I think it says by Rust-Oleum on here. Basically Rust-Oleum spray paint is what I'm putting on this. And the idea here is to protect the frame, keep it from looking terrible, keep the scale down. This isn't going to be a show truck. It was never my intention to build a show truck. If it was my intention to make a show truck, we would be stripping this down to the bare frame, sandblasting it, and repainting it in some sort of professional grade urethane 2-part paint. That's not what we're after. This will do quite nicely. Let me grab my respirator so I'm not choking down the overspray, and we'll get some paint put on this thing. That's not too bad of a first coat. I just kind of gave it a light one. We'll let it flash off a little bit, and then we can hit a little heavier and make sure we've got good coverage on there. But for the most part, looks like it's laying down fairly decent. I'll bring you guys back after I'm done painting. Basically, you don't need to watch me do what I just did for round 2. Well guys, I think we're going to call that a success. I don't even think I got too many runs. A minor one in here somewhere, as I think I saw. Not too bad for a rattle can paint job over rusty old steel. Absolutely, there's better ways to doing this. This isn't the quote-unquote right way, but it's going to do for what I want to build here. And if I wanted to take this truck further in the future, I haven't heard anything. I haven't cut anything up. It's just a matter of stripping it down and hitting it with a sandblaster. So I think we'll call this good enough for now, and we'll get on to this. But I think that's going to be a future video. We've got enough footage here for this one already, and progress has been made. Still a little bit grumpy about the problem with the engine, but I've got options there, so we'll continue getting the rest of the truck sorted out while we're kind of in a holding pattern with the engine. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you got this far, give me one of those thumbs up, give me a like, and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to get notified when I post new content, you can ring that bell icon. There's some links to merch in the on the screen below the video, at least on the PC version. And thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next mess.